Liam stood torn in thought. He knew money was scarce and that living had become hard, but when his eyes fell on his daughter's angelic face as she slept, he told himself, if a small dog could bring her such joy, then surely it was worth the struggle. He resolved to work extra hours. The next day he took Kenny and went to a pet shop, and her face lit up with light and delight. Mika was astonished. How could he agree, let alone stand, when burdened with such crushing work, only to add another weight upon himself? Yet Liam believed that as long as his wife and daughter were happy, the world would be fine, and he could bear anything. But alas, such thinking proved a grave mistake. The following day at work, his manager shouted at him with ruthless anger. "Where is the report, Liam?" He replied that he had sent it on Thursday, but it turned out the manager had been wasting time in a cabaret and had never seen it. As always, he heaped all blame upon Liam. Work was hell. Either he endured the curses of a boss who acted like a king, or his colleagues dumped every burden upon him, and if anything went wrong, the blame was hung around his neck. Life felt like a minefield. Yet all of that was tolerable, for every evening he returned home to his daughter's laughter and his wife's embrace. Then came the day that overturned everything. He was riding the metro to work when he received a message from his friend Nita, asking him to buy her a new game that had just been released. He laughed, saying this girl never tired of games, but since they were friends, he agreed. He got off the metro and opened Google to search for a shop, but the area was unfamiliar. He looked around, and in that instant disaster struck. He saw his wife standing with a strange man. He could not believe his eyes. She was supposed to be taking Kenny to fencing practice. So what was she doing here with him? That evening when he returned home, he asked Mika, "Where is Kenny? Did she go to practice?" She answered, "Yes." He was about to confront her, to say he had seen her, but he refrained. He did not wish to destroy his home. He convinced himself it must be a misunderstanding, that Mika was not unfaithful. To ease his mind, he stepped outside for a walk. He tried putting his computer to sleep, but the device malfunctioned, so he wandered into the city, heading back toward the same place he had seen her before. Relief washed over him when he did not find her there, but the relief did not last. He heard her voice, speaking on the phone with the same man. Worse still, she had brought Kenny with her. He tried to console himself. Surely he is just a friend, or someone helping her. But then he heard the girl call out to the man, "Papa." In that moment, the world itself spun out of control before his eyes. He returned to work in a daze, unable to believe what was unfolding, clinging to false explanations. Suddenly his furious manager stormed in, asking, "Why are you slacking off?" Liam replied that his computer was malfunctioning and that it was not his fault, but the manager did not believe him and continued to shout. Then, abruptly, his phone rang. Mika was calling. Her voice trembled as she told him that Kenny had been in an accident and was now in the hospital. He rushed there at once, desperate to know about his daughter. They told him she had been taken into surgery, and the doctor came out asking who her parents were. Both said, "We are." The doctor explained they needed a blood donor and asked their blood types. Mika answered, "A plus." Liam asked why he himself was not chosen. The doctor explained, Kenny's blood type was O negative, and Liam's blood was positive, unsuitable for her. He sat in the waiting room, restless, and opened his phone to search online. What he discovered shattered him. Scientifically, it was impossible for a child's blood type to differ so completely from both her parents. The truth struck him like a blade. The girl was not his daughter at all. Mika faced him and asked, "Is Kenny really my daughter?" Instead of answering, she began overturning the table and playing the victim. "I'm the one who should be sad," she cried. "You were never present in our lives. You don't care about us. Your work is worthless. You never get promoted. You never receive a raise. You cannot provide the life we deserve." Liam stood stunned, unable to believe what his ears were hearing. Mika told him, "We've been married 10 years, and I hardly see you anymore. Everything falls on me. The house, the child, all of it alone." As if she had forgotten that she had been unfaithful, and that Kenny was not his daughter at all. She said to him, "You have never been part of this home. I will take Kenny and leave." Liam asked where she intended to go, but she did not answer. She knocked on Kenny's door and called, "Come on, my love, let's go." Liam tried to stop her and grabbed her, but she pushed him away, and he kept begging her, "I have done everything for Kenny so you would not leave me." That blow was the final fracture that broke him. Kenny looked at him and said, "I love my other father." His heart sank and his certainty went out like a dying light. The next day he went to work with his heart cracked by betrayal and tears that would not cease, but the surprises were not over. His manager accused him of stealing company funds. Liam was shocked and said, "Impossible. Yet the manager presented evidence showing 50 million yen transferred from Liam's computer to a strange account. Suddenly the world turned against him. Mika seized the opportunity. She filed for divorce and demanded alimony, and the scheme that came to light revealed that the child was not hers but the manager's daughter, a ruse to get him out of prison. Liam agreed to repay the 50 million yen and to work as a laborer on a construction site, though he knew deep inside that he might die before ever repaying the debt. His life had become a ruin in every respect. The only thing that brought him a sliver of joy was a message from Nita, telling him that the final episode of Gundam had been released. He had wanted to invite her to watch it together, but he deleted the message. He did not want her to know how low he had fallen. He tried to fool himself, saying, maybe things will get better if I keep working and try harder. But while eating lunch, he suddenly coughed blood. He realized he was gravely ill and that his days might be numbered. At night he tried to sleep, but the coughing grew worse and he could not even afford to see a doctor for the simplest reason. He had no money. Liam sat on the bed feeling himself dying slowly, his eyes half open, his body exhausted. Suddenly a bright light appeared above him and he began to see a strange vision, dreamlike yet uncannily real. The vision revealed everything. The one who had stolen the 50 million yen was none other than his manager. And worse, Mika, whom he had believed loved him, had been unfaithful with that man from the beginning. All her talk of neglect and tears had been planted lies. She had used him for money and had participated in framing him. Liam was stunned and could not believe his eyes. Then a strange man appeared and spoke in a calm voice. "Hello, my friend. All of this is true. Will you let them get away with it?" Liam's heart filled with rage and he thought, no, they must pay even if it costs me my last breath. The stranger seemed pleased by his anger and stepped closer. "Good that I came today," he said, "but I have not yet told you who I am." Liam asked who he was and why he had come. The man explained that he had taken an interest in Liam's case because he saw him as a good man. Liam exploded. "Yes, I was good, and that goodness is what made me lose everything. If time could turn back, I would live selfishly, thinking only of myself." The stranger smiled, delighted by that admission, and said, "Very well, that is why I am here now. I will give you a second chance, a chance to live another life in a completely different world. All you must do is choose the world you want to go to." Liam, teetering on death atop his bed, could not tell whether these were hallucinations or truth before departing, but he told himself, "If this is my last chance, I must choose wisely." He remembered the game he and Nita loved, and he chose a world like that game's world, even if it meant being born there as a farmer on the margins of a distant planet. The strange man said to him, "I love you, and for that reason I shall make you a son who rules an entire planet." For the first time in so long, Liam felt a glimmer of hope, believing that the life ahead would be far better. With his final breath, the contract was signed, and suddenly Liam found himself in another world, on a planet called Hydra, and the day happened to be his 5th birthday. His mother had prepared a grand celebration. When she wished to present his gift, she said, "Follow me, Liam." Then she performed a light flight incantation beneath her feet, and he rose into the air, imitating her, the two of them soaring together into another chamber. There they found a massive cake and a large box. Liam opened the box eagerly and discovered within it a strange cube. His mother told him, "This is the device for designing your own mechanized avatar. Through it, you may create your personal robot in every detail, from its ears to its feet and everything you desire." But Liam was puzzled and said, "I am only 5 years old. How can you give me something like this?" She replied, "It is of the utmost importance for you, for all children receive their first personal robot at this age." Suddenly his father entered and said, "And I too have a gift for you, my son. I shall bestow upon you all the possessions of the Banfield family, and the entire planet will be yours." Liam was stunned. "Are you serious?" "I am only 5, his father answered. "Yes, but there is one simple condition. Once I grant you the planet, your mother and I shall move to a distant villa, and all you need do is send us a monthly allowance." Liam could scarcely believe the thought of power and authority, so he rushed to sign the contract without reading a single word. As soon as he signed, his father took the contract and said, "Very well, let us live in peace." Then they departed, leaving the small child alone. not realizing he had been deceived so easily. Yet Liam did not dwell on these strange details. He focused only on one thought: now I am strong, and I will wield my authority in this world so that no one dares to harm me. He believed this chance had been granted by the strange man, not knowing that this being thrived on sorrow and suffering, and that when he found the opportunity, he left behind a measure of torment before returning to his own realm. Elsewhere, Mika was sitting with the manager in a restaurant, laughing with him, both of them radiant with joy. The manager said, "Honestly, I feel a little guilty. I destroyed Liam's life. He was truly a decent man." Mika laughed and answered, "And why should you feel guilty? He deserved it. He wasted 10 years of my life." Suddenly the police stormed the place and surrounded the manager. "You are charged with falsifying accusations and embezzlement. We have recordings and testimony from your colleagues proving it." The manager tried to deny it, but the game was over. As for Mika, she found herself without support. The man she had clung to was imprisoned, and she was left destitute, sprawled on the pavement with no future. The strange man stood watching the scene, savoring every moment of the misery he himself had orchestrated. But this time he resolved to make her suffering many times worse than before. The same strange man who had transported Liam to the other world now sat, unleashing a demonic laugh from deep within him, determined to relish every moment of anguish Liam would endure. For in this world, my friend, people live long lives, meaning Liam's torment would last not for years, but for centuries. In another part of this world, an entire planet was under assault by the ghost pirates. Their captain thought he had secured victory, but suddenly his men began to explode one by one. Then he beheld a lone woman in the air, majestic in her bearing, floating in the sky. She was Christiana, the first princess of the kingdom of Li. She was not merely a princess, but one of the greatest warriors in all the realm. The moment she entered the battlefield, the pirates began to fall one after another, and their forces retreated. Even as the pirates decided to flee, Christiana commanded her soldiers to continue the attack, declaring, "We shall teach them a lesson that history will never forget." At that very time, Liam was receiving his newest gift, a personal robot. Yet, to his surprise, it came in a box that resembled a child's toy chest. The servant said to him, "All you need to do is touch the box, and it will open on its own." As soon as Liam touched it, a maid robot fell out before him. She rose with graceful poise and said, "My name is Amagi, and from this moment onward, I am at your service, Your Excellency." The servant added, "Amagi will be your personal aide and serve you 24 hours a day, though she will require maintenance once a week." A little while later, Liam lay back, receiving a shoulder massage from Amagi. The servant glanced at him cautiously and asked, "You look unfamiliar to me." Liam laughed and said, "Do not worry. I may appear 5 years old, but I possess 36 years of experience." The servant was taken aback. 36? You are still a child, Amagi explained. The normal lifespan here approaches 600 years, and one is not considered an adult until reaching 50. Liam hesitated in his mind. A long life meant more chances for adventure, and besides, Amagi would be by his side always. The servant warned him, "Be cautious. Do not grow too close to Amagi. The people here loathe artificial intelligence." Liam was puzzled and asked why. The servant replied, "In the past, AI systems nearly annihilated humanity in a war known as Skynet. People were cast aside and faced erasure, but heroes rose and saved humankind. They founded the present empire, and since then, the nobility have come to despise all things Liam asked why his mother had gifted him a robot on his birthday. The servant fell silent for a moment, then yielded to speaking. "Your family fled." Liam sprang forward, delighted. "Fled from what?" the servant answered. "From Thab Quarce." Liam grinned and asked jubilant, "Lands? Wealth?" The servant said, "No, debts. Endless debts." Liam was stunned. How could that be? The servant continued, "Your great-grandfather Astor once elevated the Banfield name. But your father squandered everything. The factories stopped, the farmlands were lost, troubles erupted, and now you are made responsible for it all." This was only the beginning of his suffering. Elsewhere on Hydra, some people sat in a tavern talking about the new lord, who had become the region's ruler as a 5-year-old. One of them said, "I cannot stand this place. Every time a new lord arrives, taxes rise for no reason." Another replied, "There is nothing we can do. Let us hope he is more merciful than his predecessor." Liam sat on his bed, his mind unable to grasp what had occurred. How had the Banfield territory sunk into poverty, and how had they decided to saddle a child with responsibility? He thought a moment, then absorbed a bitter truth. They placed me here specifically to inherit these debts. In his previous life he had been belittled, exploited, then abandoned. This time he vowed not to let anyone trample him. He looked at Amagi and said, "This world is mine. Come. Let us restore this territory to its former strength." Amagi smiled. "I am proud to be at your service. You have given my existence meaning." Liam felt an overwhelming happiness. For the first time he truly trusted someone. Before they began, he decided to set some rules for Amagi and adjust her algorithms to ensure safety. He established the following laws. First, do not harm Liam under any circumstances. Second, you must obey my orders unless they would harm him. Third, protect yourself without violating your first and second obligations. Thus Amagi's laws were determined. Liam asked, "I want to reclaim the Banfield territory. Do you have any ideas?" Amagi ran a quick analysis and then said, "I have a proposal, but you should know that the ARYKAI system may not always align with the Empire's policies." Liam admitted, "I truly understand nothing about this world." She answered, "Then you must use the education capsule, a device that injects 10 years worth of knowledge into your brain in 6 months and strengthens the body." Liam asked, "Excellent, but who will govern the territory while I am inside the capsule?" She replied, "I will act as your proxy. Rule the territory on my behalf until you return." The servant Brian intervened in astonishment. "Have you gone mad? You will leave the territory in a robot's hands?" Liam replied calmly, "Amagi will do nothing wrong unless I command it. Besides, no law forbids this, does it?" The servant fell silent. The agreement was made, and the capsule was readied. Liam looked at Amagi before entering and asked, "Do you possess feelings? Do you sense anything?" Amagi replied, "I am not certain, but when I was instructed to be your companion, my data was suppressed into a program directive, and by your human account I experienced what you call happiness." Liam said to her, "Very well, guard the territory. I will enter to learn, then return to seize control of this world." The territory was entrusted to the robot's hands, and after a short while the capsule opened. Liam found Maji standing and waiting for him. His first question to her was, "How long was I inside that capsule?" She answered, "You slept for 2 years, Liam." After he dressed, Maji sat and explained the state of the territory, informing him that affairs had been running smoothly. He thanked her for her efforts and said he wished to tour the territory with his own eyes. Maji smiled and said, "Come, first I will show you the fleet of space warships." It was the first time Liam saw the territory in truth, not through pictures or reports. What most captured his attention were the robots. He asked Maji if he could try one, and she rejoiced. "Of course, I will prepare a test for you at once." She explained that the suit moves on its own. All he need do is imagine the motion he desires, and it will execute it immediately. "Then let me try," he said. He donned the suit, and the moment it activated he could move. He felt a surge of excitement and declared his desire to try combat while wearing it. Maji replied, "Do not worry, I will arrange a training match for you at once." "You command." Soon the planet's defense commander arrived. When the battle began, the commander lunged at Liam and struck, but Liam parried. The commander feigned defeat. Liam smiled mockingly and said, "Your acting is very poor." He understood the commander was teasing and not taking the matter seriously. Angered, he said, "Take this seriously." Yet he could not overwhelm him. The commander was stronger. In the second round, the commander attacked again, seized his sword, and felled Liam with astonishing speed. Liam was shocked and could not understand how he had lost so swiftly. Maji then explained that the suit's movement depends on imagination, and that veterans like the commander command it with mastery far beyond his. After this defeat, Liam felt humiliated and demanded Brian bring him a combat instructor at once. Brian tried to calm him. "My lord, there is no need for you to learn fighting at all." But Liam insisted. He would not accept the word no. He had endured much in his previous life under the rule of the strong, and had no intention of living the same way here. If he were fated to become an evil lord, then he must at least be the strongest. Shortly thereafter, he met a man named Yasushi, who seemed an experienced master of martial arts. Liam admired him immediately and said, "I want to learn from you." Yasushi agreed to be his trainer, but Maji was uneasy. "I am not comfortable with him. He looks suspicious," she said. Liam answered, "I know he seems suspicious, but his appearance is like a samurai's, and I admire him." She replied, "Fine, but test him first before you rely on him." Liam consented and told Yasushi, "Show me a small demonstration." Yasushi smiled. "Come with me to the forest." He had set up some wooden posts. Before beginning, he said to Liam, "Focus well. This is a secret technique I will show to no one but you." Liam told Maji, "Record what will happen." Yasushi took a ready stance, drew a part of his sword and returned it in a flash. Suddenly, every wooden post split in two. Liam was stunned. Incredible. What speed is this? He asked Maji to play the recording in slow motion, but even slowed, the camera showed no trace of the sword being drawn. He concluded that the speed must be so extraordinary the camera could not capture it, and he was utterly astonished. He then asked Yasushi to be his formal teacher. That night, Yasushi returned to the forest alone, laughing. Can you believe he fell for this trick? I had cut the posts beforehand. They were barely standing, and when I nudged them, they fell. He was happy that Liam would give him a great deal of money, despite his having done nothing noteworthy. Meanwhile, Princess Christiana was on her way to meet the pirates to negotiate peace. It was Joe who sought the truce. But when Christiana arrived, he said to her, "You have made a grave mistake coming alone." Christiana answered firmly, "I am not alone. If you attempt anything, the Alliance fleet will destroy your ship." She thought she was frightening him, but Joe was not afraid at all, for he knew that the Alliance in truth stood with him, not with her. Suddenly, a message reached Princess Christiana, informing her that the pirates had already attacked her planet. She was stunned, unable to comprehend how this had happened, for her world was fortified and well defended. Joe said to her coldly, "The alliances you forged were not all sincere. Some accepted my offer and betrayed you." At that very moment, her crew reported that every fleet ship of the Alliance had turned their cannons against hers. She could hardly believe that Joe had managed to turn her entire army against her. She had no choice but to submit to his command. Meanwhile, on Liam's planet, he was still training with Yasushi until the drills exhausted him, yet he could not master the flash movement, the very strike that had once split the wooden posts. Liam asked Maji if there was any way to learn this skill, but as an artificial intelligence, she did not possess the knowledge. 3 years passed as Liam studied the basics of swordsmanship under Yasushi, until he grew weary of endless repetition. Maji assured him that his level had improved greatly, but he was dissatisfied with anything less than a move that would astonish all. At night, Yasushi would sit in his chamber, reading manga as always, delighted with his luck. He had stumbled into a comfortable post, earning a fortune in exchange for teaching Liam a handful of simple sword moves for 3 whole years, though in truth he was nothing more than a fraud with only superficial knowledge of martial arts. He wished this arrangement could last forever. But suddenly Liam entered and said, "I want to learn the flash movement." Yasushi grew uneasy and chose to evade. He told Liam that he had said from the very start he would perform that move only once, and if Liam did not like it, there was no point continuing. At once Liam apologized, and Yasushi forgave him, pretending to be magnanimous. Yet when Liam left, Yasushi exhaled in terror at the thought that his fraud might be exposed. But suddenly Liam returned, making Yasushi's heart leap in fear, lest he had overheard him. Yet Liam came only to say that there would be no training the next day, for he had another mission. Elsewhere, Princess Christiana was now a captive aboard Joe's pirate vessel. She asked him, "What do you intend to do with me?" He replied with icy calm, "Nothing. I merely wanted you to witness the scene from the front row." She did not understand until she saw the fleets turning their cannons toward her planet. Then she realized he intended to annihilate it entirely. She broke down in tears, begging him to stop, but he ignored her pleas and ordered his men to fire. Powerless, she stood watching as her home world, the place of her birth, erupted before her very eyes. At that same time, Liam remained on his planet, still frustrated at his inability to master the flash movement. Yet he understood he had no time to waste and focused instead on his duties as Lord. He asked Maji for a monthly report. She presented him with charts and statistics on the economy. The debts remained, though production had seen a slight rise. Liam was pleased with her diligence, for she was managing the affairs with true devotion, yet she warned him that growth was slower than expected because of extravagant spending on entertainment projects, which had yielded no results to match the expense. Immediately, Liam demanded a detailed report of entertainment expenditures. With his prior knowledge of accounting, studied before his death, he quickly spotted discrepancies and ordered the program's overseer to be summoned. A pompous noble arrived, brimming with self-confidence, but Liam confronted him directly. "If you have something to say it now." The noble feigned ignorance, but Liam discerned that he was siphoning funds, altering invoices and suppliers with cunning. Liam asked him, Why did you change the suppliers? The man replied with the excuse that the new supplier was better, yet the outcomes did not support his claim. It became obvious that he was a thief and a fraud. Strangely, Liam did not flare up in anger. Instead, he saw in this an opportunity to learn how to wield his authority as an evil lord. Suddenly, Maggie informed him that this same noble had once faced charges of embezzlement. Astonished, Liam asked, "How does he still hold office then?" The noble replied that the case had been closed, and that a subordinate had been accused instead. Liam turned to Maggie to confirm, and she affirmed it, but explained that there was no decisive proof against that subordinate. Worse still, the man accused had been executed. At that moment, Liam grasped the truth of the game and accused the noble of fabricating charges against the innocent in order to bury his own corruption. The nobleman began to deny and plead, yet Liam could see the lies burning in his eyes. Gripping his sword, he advanced upon him with the measured steps of death. Terrified, the noble cried out, "My lord, everyone here does the same. I am not alone. Every noble steals. It is natural." The moment his words left his lips, Liam drew his blade and nearly severed his head, but Maggie shouted, "Wait!" The nobleman screamed again, "You are still young. You do not understand how the world works." But before he could finish, Liam struck and cut off his head in a fury of rage. Then he ordered Amagi to investigate all corrupt nobles and bring them to justice. She calmed him, warning, "You must restrain yourself. If you execute every corrupt noble, no one will remain to govern the planet, for most of them are corrupt." She suggested he rely on mechanical dolls to handle the planet's affairs instead. Liam found the idea sound and agreed. After a while, Liam returned to the training bay. Now that he had mastered the fundamentals of swordsmanship, he decided to test himself again on the combat simulator. Yet before he could don the armor, Yasushi appeared and said, "Do not dream of becoming a great warrior while training in mechanical suits." Liam replied, "Then is there no other suit I may train with?" Maggie interrupted, "There exists one fully manual suit, but no one has ever managed to operate it." In truth, Yasushi himself had created that device. He had begun to worry that Liam was becoming a true swordsman, and that would threaten his own position. Yasushi went to the royal family's storage and found an old broken-down robot. He planned to deceive Liam, certain that a mere boy could never control it. His scheme worked. Liam was thrilled by the challenge, convinced that if he could master this manual suit, he would gain an immense advantage over all those who relied on automated suits across the galaxy. But before he could begin, he needed someone to repair the robot. Brian was pleased by Liam's dedication to training, though he could not understand his obsession with the difficult manual suit. He marveled at how Liam spent days striking a wooden post with his sword without tiring. He asked, "What exactly are you doing?" Liam answered simply, "I am imitating the secret technique Yasushi revealed to me. I will not stop until I master it, even if it takes years." Brian could not believe such a technique even existed, but he knew it was useless to argue. If Yasushi was deceiving him, Liam would not listen, so Brian let him be. That night, Amagi went to the training bay to prepare a special request of her own. She believed Yasushi's advice was worthless, but with determination, she chose to keep trying. Yet she lacked the skill to repair the robot alone, so they were forced to summon a specialist. The next day, Liam and Amagi went to the port to receive Nias. The moment Nias saw Amagi, she began to act strangely. Liam thought someone from the Empire would surely be displeased to see a robot, but the opposite happened. Nias was almost unnaturally excited, as though she were obsessed with machines. They brought her to the robot and asked her to repair it. Nias shook her head. "This machine is completely ruined. Save your money, buy a newer model." But Liam insisted. She explained that spare parts were no longer manufactured and that the repair would cost dearly. Still, Liam did not care. He said he would pay any amount, so long as it was restored. Before they began, Liam made an unusual request. He wanted the robot to have a finishing move. Nias frowned and asked, "What do you mean by finishing move?" Liam explained eagerly that he wanted the robot to unleash a powerful attack, perhaps a missile strike, or even for its arm to detach and rocket into the enemy's face like a projectile. It was a childish idea, but Liam was thrilled by it. By chance, Yasushi entered the training bay at that moment. The sight of Nias caught his attention at once, and he struggled to compose himself as he approached her with his usual lies and exaggerated charm. But Nias ignored him entirely, absorbed instead in Liam's excited explanation of why a rocket punch would be useful. Patiently, she dismantled his reasoning, pointing out that rocket engines would consume too much space, and that losing the robot's arm mid-battle was utter folly. Still, Liam stood firm, and at last they reached an agreement. From there, the two dove into a lively conversation about how wondrous and magnificent robots truly were. As for Yasushi, he stood at a distance, unable to believe that Nias admired Liam more than him. Perhaps the reason was that Liam was truly a likable person, unlike himself, the jealous failure who could only watch. Consumed with spite, Yasushi decided to subject Liam to an impossible training. He blindfolded him with a cloth, set him atop a tree trunk in the middle of a lake, and began hurling flying balls at him while chanting nonsense. "This will open the eye of your mind so you may sense attacks without sight." It was all empty words. At the same time, elsewhere, Christiana was living a nightmare after her ship had been captured by Joe. She and her entire crew had become his prisoners, and Joe was overjoyed to have her at his mercy. Trembling, she asked him, "What do you intend to do with me?" He replied with a sinister smile, "I will take you to my treasure planet, and you shall become part of my collection." Christiana thought he meant something vile, but when she arrived at his laboratory, she discovered a truth far more horrific. One of her companions had already been turned into something grotesque by a mad scientist under Joe's command. Joe said coldly to the scientist, "Take Christiana and begin." As always, Christiana was terrified as she realized the fate that awaited her. Joe's plans were monstrous. His first design was to tear her eyes from her face and plant them into her palms so that she would witness her body's torment and destruction with every scream, just as he had done to the others. He was no human like the rest of mankind. Christiana was living the worst nightmare of her life. Meanwhile, on Liam's planet, the situation was entirely different. Under his rule, the economy had flourished, and the people lived in prosperity and happiness. No one had believed progress would come so swiftly, and everyone was eager to know what Liam would do next. Yet none knew that he had spent a large portion of the planet's budget on repairing his robot. At last, Nias completed the repairs, restoring the machine as if it had just left the factory. Proud of her work, she showed Liam how to operate it. The cockpit had been redesigned to be wider and more comfortable. Once Liam seated himself and secured the straps, Nias activated the engine. It roared to life and immediately scanned him, confirming Liam as the sole authorized user. No one else could ever command it. Liam was exhilarated, but the moment he took the controls, he stumbled and crashed face first. Then he remembered. The robot lacked any form of automatic balance. Every step had to be adjusted manually. An ordinary person could never control it, but Liam had trained long and hard for this very day. He steadied himself, rose once more to his feet, and began walking out of the loading bay as the people around him watched in awe. Nias explained that imagination was crucial for operating the robot. The clearer the image in his mind, the sharper its movements. Over time, he began training with a sword, trying to split a wooden pillar from afar using the flash strike. But no matter how hard he tried, he failed. Doubt crept in, and he muttered, "Perhaps I lack the talent for the sword after all." But Amagi approached him and spoke frankly. "The problem is not you, nor your talent. The problem is Yasushi and his empty teachings, and your blind faith in him." When Liam heard the word faith, he misunderstood it, believing she meant he lacked faith in his master. He was utterly convinced that Yasushi could never lie to him or mislead him, so he drew an even stranger conclusion. "Then it must be that I am the one failing to grasp my master's lessons." Suddenly Liam remembered, this world had magic. Why not combine magic with the strike instead of relying on my muscles alone? From that day onward, Liam made a great leap in his training. For months he practiced fusing swordsmanship with magic until the awaited day arrived. He called out, "Master Yasushi, come and see what I have achieved." Inside, Yasushi was certain Liam would disappoint him as always. But the moment Liam drew his blade and unleashed a wave of magic that cleaved the wooden pillar in two from a distance, Yasushi could hardly believe his eyes. Yet, he quickly donned the mask of wisdom, saying, "Well done, my pupil. But you still have a long road ahead to truly master the technique." Inwardly, however, his heart collapsed. He was shaken to the core. That boy is unnatural. I lied to him for years, and still he accomplished the impossible. Days passed, and grave news reached him. One of the planets from which resources were extracted had been attacked by the pirates. This planet was the only one whose resources had not been seized by the Empire when the debts of House Banfield had been confiscated. The reason was that its land was poor and extraction was difficult, so they had deemed it worthless. But Meiji had been resourceful enough to operate a few factories there, generating additional income for Liam. Now, however, the pirates sought to seize those factories. The Banfield troops stationed on the planet resisted fiercely, but it was only a matter of time before they were overwhelmed. Liam said, "Maggie, I have a plan for the assault." She replied, "Yes, We will strike from a blind spot, one unseen by the enemy, and take them by surprise. She then commanded the fleet to pin the pirates in orbit, while Liam himself resolved to descend to the planet to defend it in person. Brian objected. "My lord, it is far too dangerous for you to go yourself." But Liam refused. "No one will steal from me, and I wish to put my newly learned skills to the test." Thus Liam departed with his squad. Maji had prepared a massive cannon and loaded Liam's robot inside it. Once fired toward the planet, the battle below raged, the pirates tearing through the defenders of the factories. Suddenly one of their ships exploded, the heavens split, and down descended Liam, sword in hand, cleaving an enemy in two in the blink of an eye. Surrounded by pirate forces who thought they had trapped him, Liam sensed their movements without sight, thanks to his grueling tennis ball training, and cut them down from behind before they could even strike. A group of them opened fire with laser beams, exclaiming, "You even know laser techniques?" At that moment, Liam gripped his sword and summoned forth a massive laser cannon, sweeping the battlefield clean. The pirates panicked. "This is no human," they cried. Attempting a foolish mass charge, they lined up together. Liam roared, "It is time to reveal the true secret." Drawing his sword, he unleashed a single wave that split half their remaining forces apart. Many collapsed in terror, and the rest fled in haste. Yet Liam did not relent. He raised his hand and fired what he called a missile strike. But what manifested was not a missile. It was a nuclear warhead that annihilated everything, leaving none alive. Scowling, Liam muttered, "This is not what I asked for, Neas. I asked for a missile fist, not a nuclear bomb." At that very moment, a call came through from Maji, reporting that she had destroyed 30% of the pirate fleet, seized another 30% of the pirate fleet percent of their ships to rebuild into their own army, while only 40% had escaped. Smiling, Liam said, "Excellent work, Magi." When the news reached the pirate leader, he nearly lost his mind with rage. He ordered his scientists to muster every resource for a counterattack, but in the end had no choice but to retreat to avoid total annihilation. Yet Joe would not allow matters to end so easily. He resolved to crush the retreating pirates, slaughtering those who faltered, and afterward to set out personally to pursue his mission elsewhere. Meanwhile, Liam and his legends returned in triumph after the battle. They had not only reclaimed the resources but also seized several pirate vessels. By imperial law, whatever one plunders from the pirates becomes his own. Fortune favored them further, for those captured ships were filled with stolen treasures. The moment Liam heard the word treasures, his thoughts flew to gold and silver. But Brian reminded him, "What we possess is far more precious." Maji explained that the ships carried rare metals such as orichalcum and adamantite. Yet Liam cared little. He dreamed of a diamond crown, though diamonds in this world were but glittering stones of no real worth, while orichalcum and adamantite were of immense value. Still, it did not matter to him. He wanted something that made him feel wealthy. When Brian told him there was some gold aboard, Liam rejoiced and ordered him to mint a vast number of gold coins. When Brian asked whether he should mint coins from the other metals as well, Liam replied, "No, of course not. I will not waste them. We shall forge them into weapons for the army." Then Maji spoke gravely. "We face a great problem. Our forces are in poor condition. The Banfield fleet numbers 10,000 ships, yet when inspected, most were found unfit for service. When the order to mobilize against the pirates was given, only 30% of them could enter battle." She was astonished they had triumphed at all. The reason was clear. The pirates had underestimated them. The Empire itself considered Banfield territory impoverished, so the enemy assumed their assault would be easy. And indeed, perhaps it should have been. But Liam's skill in command turned the tide entirely. Yet Magi believed that the pirates had resolved to launch a full-scale assault, and the army would not endure under such circumstances. She was dissatisfied that more than 70% of the fleet's ships were out of commission. So she said to him, "I have an idea. Let us dispose of the broken vessels." Brian objected immediately, saying that such a move would lower the army's ranking and render it an easy prey, and he was right. Repairing them would cost a fortune, and William had no desire to pay such an amount. Thus he tentatively approved Meiji's proposal, partly to ease Brian's mind. She also argued that they could purchase new ships, and if they sold the precious metals seized from the pirates, the funds would not only cover the cost, but perhaps even exceed it. Elsewhere, Aeneas stood proudly presenting the design of her new warship. She was extremely proud, having increased power output by 7%, improved responsiveness, and made maintenance easier. She promised that the army would grow far stronger if it adopted her design. But the next presentation was given by Elisha. representative of the third armament factory. She unveiled an extravagant design. Its exterior and interior were like that of a five-star hotel, complete with a bar, a theater, a cinema, and even golf courses within the ship itself, ensuring that the crew would enjoy their service aboard. In contrast, Aeneas's design excelled in battle, but offered no luxuries. Thus, the Imperial Army decided to purchase Eulychia's ship instead of Aeneas's. Aeneas protested, insisting that her ship was far stronger, but Eulychia retorted that endurance was not about weapons alone, but about the men who operated them. If the crew had a place to rest and enjoy themselves after their duties, they would fight with all their strength and loyalty. After the meeting, Eulychia rejoiced at her victory, while Aeneas told her, "The game is not over yet. I may have lost this round, but my design will prove its worth in real battle." Yet she faced a dire problem. She had exhausted her budget entirely, and unless someone purchased the ships rejected by the army, she would be officially bankrupt. As she pondered the matter, she remembered a man mad enough to buy them. Liam, the one who had been willing to pay an enormous sum merely to repair an old robot. Surely, such a man might also purchase ships that no one else desired. At the same time, the guide sat idly on the ground, playing cruel tricks on people and feeding on their suffering. But what others now endured was nothing compared to the torment Liam should have been experiencing. The last time the guide had seen him, he had cast him into a new world among people little better than scrap, burdened him with crushing debts and abandoned him. The planet was supposed to collapse and be wiped from existence. Yet the shocking truth was that the planet had flourished, and everything had gone smoothly. The guide nearly went mad with rage, though he still held one last card. In the past, when Liam had requested a sword master, the guide had sent him a fraud named Yasushi, a man who did not even know how to hold a sword, ensuring that Liam would never have a real chance to learn. In the local taverns, people spoke of how the economy had improved under Liam and celebrated his rise as ruler. Meanwhile, Yasushi sat alone, drunk and dejected. Liam had long since realized that he was being deceived, that Yasushi had only been trying to rid himself of him with impossible tasks. But the shocking twist was that Liam had learned and mastered techniques that even Yasushi himself did not know. When the guide heard such rumors, he was astonished and went to see with his own eyes. He found Liam training, splitting dry logs apart without even touching them, and was dumbfounded. He became convinced that Liam's power was not some gifted miracle, but rather the fruit of his own sweat and toil. The guide could no longer comprehend how everything had gone so well for Liam. What was even stranger was that Liam himself had never expected such an outcome. At the age of 5, he had been abandoned, his family drowned in debt sufficient to destroy the life of any ordinary man. Yet somehow things had worked out. His economy improved, his life became like a dream, and all of it sprang from the unyielding spirit within him. Meanwhile, the taste of life turned bitter in the guide's mouth. He could not endure it, and so he began once more to feed on Yasushi's endless negativity, soothing himself slightly, while plotting a new scheme to destroy Liam's life. The guide was wagering on one thing, that Liam now stood at the peak, and casting him down from such heights would restore to the guide a fresh flavor of victory. At that very moment, Liam was conversing with Magi about the warships. He asked if she had found anything useful, and she informed him that the Imperial Army was modernizing its fleet and selling off older models at cheap prices. Though outdated, Imperial vessels were still far superior to anything else on the market. Liam agreed at once, but there was a condition. If they bought the ships, they must operate their crews as they were, for the Empire was trying to rid itself of unwanted personnel. Hiring those soldiers would be costly overall, yet Magi believed they could shoulder the expense from the real budget, and that most of those crews possessed extensive experience that would only strengthen Liam's army. When Liam heard this, he was convinced and approved the deal. The guide overheard everything, and seeing a golden opportunity to ruin Liam's life, decided to play his hand. He seeded the ranks of soldiers being sent to Liam with a cadre of extremists, men fanatically loyal to a dangerous degree, certain they would expose Liam's supposed fraudulence when they clashed, and would turn their backs on him before his troops. At that moment, Yasushi sat at home suffering a headache from too much drink, bewildered at how his life had sunk so low. When Neas's voice stirred him and he rose quickly to play the part of the teacher. At first Neas distrusted him, but after witnessing Liam's progress achieved because of him, she became convinced that a truly strong instructor was needed. Yasushi was surprised she had come alone and wagered that her visit concealed some opportunity. Yet she had in fact come to ask questions about Liam, and she was not the only one. Someone wanted to know how to make Liam accept their commercial offer without appearing dishonorable. She asked him slyly, How do we make the man accept a convincing deal? Yasushi misunderstood and thought she was flattering him. He feared she looked at him as if he were sick. Nias persisted. She genuinely needed to know how to win the man to their side. Seeing her so, Yasushi opened his heart and spilled his scattered, often bizarre fantasies and ideas. Nias stood speechless, shocked, and Yasushi fretted that he might have revealed too much. Strangely, she thanked him sincerely for his counsel. A few hours later, Nias arrived at Liam's palace, hoping to seduce him into buying her ships. Though gentle and simple at times, Liam was not a fool. He immediately saw she was trying to sell him something. She told him she wished him to buy the new warship model she had built, but Liam refused before hearing details. She begged him to listen, but he said he had already bought used ships from the army and had no need for hers. She tried to persuade him with figures and statistics. The ships truly were formidable, but Liam replied that she should sell them to the army if she believed in their strength. She had tried before and lost at the exhibition. No one had bought them. "Won't you buy even one ship? Or 200? She asked, offering to help him secure a loan if necessary. He cut her off. "Enough talk. I cannot bear the thought of debt again." She grew desperate and nervy from her despair and tried to tempt him anew. Liam recognized Nias's type, yet this time she seemed genuinely broken. To end the awkward moment, he decided to purchase a few ships. He asked Magi if surplus funds existed in the budget, and she answered that they could acquire roughly 300 vessels. Nias lit up and promised to dispatch them immediately. Her cries of joy echoed through the streets as she shouted to her crew, "Prepare 300 ships for sale now." Her coordinator was astonished to learn she had finally found a buyer. Hours later, the new ships Liam had purchased arrived and lined the quay. Liam boarded one to inspect it, pleased to have obtained modern models, though puzzled why the Empire had chosen other designs over these. This ship contained almost no luxuries. Nias defended her choice, insisting lavish designs had no battlefield value, and she was right, but that did not negate the fact that people loved the appearance of luxury as well. To finalize the deal, she asked him to sign the receipt, but she also made another request. Would he grant her some of the pirate ships seized days earlier? He refused categorically, explaining his intention to add them to his fleet. She tried again. "Could you at least give me 1 or 2 vessels?" He refused again. Magi interrupted and proposed a solution. Give Nias one ship she desired on the condition that she modify the rest of the captured pirate vessels to align with Liam's fleet systems. These ships contain strange technologies from beyond the Empire and must be adapted to operate harmoniously with the rest of the armada. Nias agreed at once. For her, repairing a few ships was far easier than the wealth of information she could extract from such mysterious technology. Liam began to think aloud and said, "Let us go and see one of the pirates' ships for ourselves." And indeed, the 3 of them went together to inspect one, and it was utterly unlike the traditional vessels Liam was accustomed to. Nias was brimming with excitement. "This ship is a technological treasure," she said. "It is filled with ideas and innovations we could replicate." Liam himself felt delighted when he saw a massive steering wheel in the center of the control room. He was instantly fascinated by it and requested that Nias install one like it in his own ships. Yet she explained to him that, while its appearance was pleasing, its function was far weaker than digital control panels. The screens were faster and far easier to handle. Liam, however, did not care. He admired it purely for how it looked. Nias continued her exploration inside the vessel, and with every step her astonishment grew at the advanced technologies hidden within. "The gravity laser is operating at an advanced level," she exclaimed, "and there are inverted ether generators, even artificial intelligence fully integrated within the systems." She could hardly wait to return and begin analyzing all the data. Meanwhile, Liam's eyes caught sight of something resembling a dog, standing silently in a corner. He walked after it to see what it was. Nias noticed his strange behavior and asked, "Are you all right, my boy?" He answered, "I saw a dog, or perhaps a cat here." And suddenly, it vanished. They then entered the chamber into which the creature had gone, only to discover that it was the navigation or sonar room of the ship. Amagi activated the system and explained that this chamber recorded every journey the ship had ever taken, mapping its earlier routes. They discovered that the pirates had been raiding and invading planets across the Empire of Drarain. At first it seemed ordinary enough, but after scrutinizing the data, Amagi uncovered a strange pattern. Every time the pirates returned from a raid, they entered the Empire through a teleportation gate, then performed a small jump along the frontier. That frontier was a region long disputed between the Empire and other states, making it nearly impossible to monitor properly, and thus it had become the pirates' perfect hiding place. Liam asked her for the coordinates of that small jump, but unfortunately the numbers changed each time the pirates returned from a raid. Amagi began analyzing the coordinates they had retrieved and charted a map of the ship's trajectory. To her astonishment, it aligned perfectly with a small wandering planet, drifting lost in the depths of space. Its orbit was so precise and peculiar that reaching it was nearly impossible without prior knowledge of its position. She voiced her suspicion. This could very well be the pirates' hidden base. But Liam replied confidently, "No, I have seen many pirate films. This planet is without question their treasure island, where they hoard their spoils." Once they had gathered the necessary information, Jazz asked, "What will you do now?" Liam answered without hesitation, "There is no need for lengthy explanation. We shall attack the planet." Meanwhile, the surviving pirates from the last battle returned to their leader, Joe. He flew into a rage, bellowing, "How dare a worthless noble mock us and make us a laughingstock before the entire galaxy? We cannot allow this." In fury, he declared that he would punish the failures with unforgettable lessons. He locked them into capsules and detonated them before the public. Back with Liam, his fleet departed at once to launch their assault on the treasure planet. But to reach it, they had to pass through the Domus Gate, which connected them to another gate on the planet Belmonia, from which they could continue their course. Amagi sent a request for passage, but it was denied. She had not paid the transit fees. Suddenly, a call came through from a gate officer addressing Liam directly. "Sir, the fees are calculated by the weight of what is being transferred and the distance of the jump. You intend to send an entire fleet. The charges will be immense." Liam said, "Very well, I shall pay. But unfortunately I did not bring the funds with me. I will provide them upon my return." The officer replied coldly, "No, sir, that will not do. The financial rating of House Banfield is 0. Even quick loan companies refuse to deal with you. You must pay in advance or provide a trusted guarantor." Liam considered returning to gather money, but that would cost both fuel and precious time. So he demanded to speak with the officer's superior. The officer answered, "I am the superior." Liam then declared, "Very well, I shall meet you myself." Amagi grew alarmed and asked if he was certain. If the manager had been unmoved on the phone, he would not likely change his mind in person. But Liam replied with full confidence, "No, I possess extraordinary negotiation skills. He will agree." At the same time, Joe and his army arrived at the Belmonia Gate, intending to use it to pass through to the Domus Gate, then launch an assault on the Benfield region and erase it from the map. His fleet was already fully prepared on the other side. Joe contacted the officer in charge, requesting passage to Domus, and slipped him a small bribe to smooth the way without too many questions. Meanwhile, Liam stood at the Domus Gate counter, trying to persuade the director to allow his ships through, but the director was adamant. No money, no passage. Liam tried every possible way, but the director coldly replied, "Sorry, the rules are rules, and I'm not here to change them for you." Suddenly, a message arrived from Belmonia Gate stating that Joe's fleet and his pirate army were advancing toward this gate immediately. The director turned to Liam and with the same indifference said, "My concerns are more important than this," leaving him alone in the reception hall. Liam could not believe that his negotiating skills had failed so miserably. Left alone, he muttered to himself as he wandered aimlessly until the spirit of the dog he had seen earlier appeared before him, waking him up. He decided to follow it. At that moment, the director's control team was checking the stability of the connection between Domus Gate and Belmonia. Joe's fleet was expected to cross within half an hour. One of the staff could not believe what was happening and asked the director, "Are you sure about what we're doing? At this rate, Joe's fleet will run into Liam's in the waiting area, and we know Joe never waits a second. He'll start fighting the moment he arrives." The director, tense but stubborn, dismissed them coldly. "Go. Take a break. There's no need to panic." None of them dared to say aloud that his refusal to act could cost everyone their lives. By coincidence, after the staff left the control room, Liam, following the spirit of the dog, slipped inside unnoticed. Looking around in astonishment, he found the place empty. He approached the main screen and was shocked. The gate was already open and connected to Belmonia. Liam thought the director had carelessly opened the way for free, but as he studied it more closely, he noticed the alignment was completely wrong. This must be a simple mistake by the director. "I'll fix it," he said to himself. He began working on the control panel, trying to reverse the gate's direction. After a long struggle, he managed to partially correct the alignment, but his interference caused an unintended distortion in the gate. Anyone inside Subuldodi would emerge at a completely random location. Since Liam did not know anyone was inside, he thought to himself, "No harm done, Suddenly, he received a call from Amagi, urging him to return quickly to the ship because someone was guaranteeing their rights. Surprised, Liam asked, "Who is it?" When he returned, he learned that the guarantor of Amagi's rights was Nias, who said, "This is the least I can do after Liam helped me, especially after he bought ships and left me some of the pirates' vessels." Liam thanked her sincerely and said, "Very well, I had already prepared the gate. Let's go." The fleet departed, and after half an hour they arrived at Belmonia, leaving only a short distance before reaching the rogue planet to begin their mission. Meanwhile, Joe was still trapped inside Sabuldodi, unaware that Liam had altered the course. After a long time, he began to suspect something was wrong. His crew said, "Captain, we're almost through the gate." Smiling, he replied, "Finally." But the moment they emerged, they were struck with horror. His fleet had landed right in the middle of the Imperial Fleet Training Zone, facing more than 100,000 warships. Joe had fallen into a devastating catastrophe. At that same moment, Liam arrived at the planet. He ordered everyone to prepare and launch the attack immediately. About 20 pirate ships stood in their way, more than triple Liam's fleet, but most of them were idle and unprepared. The sudden strike was enough to shatter them completely. Some ships tried to resist, but what happened next was even greater. Liam emerged from his vessel in the midst of battle, having readied his mech equipped with a massive weapon. He roared, "Amagi, launch me straight into the battlefield." She fired him into the heart of combat. The moment he landed, he began tearing through the pirates one by one until silence dominated the field. As the end of the battle approached, he ordered the cleanup squads to finish off the survivors, declaring that he would personally go search for the treasure. Indeed, the scientist who had been hiding inside the base rushed into the control room, while Liam's army destroyed the last remnants of the defense system. He arrived there to find that all the planet's guard ships had exploded at the same moment. Liam finally entered the heart of the planet and immediately encountered several pirates, whom he dispatched within seconds. When the captain of his squadron arrived, he found that Liam had defeated them single-handedly. The captain ordered the clearance operation to continue while he himself searched for the treasure chamber. Liam then glimpsed the luminous dog again and followed it. His decision proved wise, for the path led to the control room, where the scientist and his men surrendered at once. Liam asked where the treasure was. The scientist, bewildered, asked what kind of treasure Liam meant, for he possessed many valuables, and even kept pets that Captain Joe had collected. Liam summoned the dog he had seen, thinking it might be one of those animals. The scientist's madness and his affection for domesticating people into obedient creatures became plain. His words stuttered as he offered to tame those animals into servile companions. Liam demanded to see it with his own eyes. The scientist led him to the laboratory, where samples of experiments lay exposed. Girls transformed into hideous beasts as a result of the tests. Liam recoiled at the sight. His gaze fell upon one of them. The scientist approached and said that she had been Captain Joe's favorite, boasting of her as if she were a prized artwork. Rage welled up within Liam at the sight of their torment. He drew his pistol and shot the scientist dead, then stood listening as he circled the place. A sharp voice of accusation made him look up. It was Christiana. She asked him, "Who are you?" He answered, "I am Liam. I have taken control of this planet." The girl rose, tears in her eyes, begging for mercy and saying that her torment was almost over. She implored him to put an end to their suffering, for they would never live as humans again. Liam promised modest aid in return for a later favor and ordered his soldiers to fetch doctors and transfer the girls to the ship for treatment. The girl screamed and begged to be killed, believing her salvation was gone. The captain tried to soothe her, but could not contravene Liam's orders. He explained that the treatment would be difficult, requiring full bodily regeneration, rare resources, and skilled physicians. Recovery was not guaranteed. Liam, however, in an unexpectedly gentle mood, resolved to do some good. A message arrived from Amagi informing them that they had found the true treasure chamber. Liam rejoiced. "Very well. With that ransom, we will secure the girl's cure." Liam returned to his planet, and Nias came to visit him. She knew he had triumphed over the pirate base and suggested buying some warships to celebrate. Liam smiled and refused the pillage, yet those around him argued that her ships had proven useful and generated great profit from the attack, and that he should invest further. Nias persisted with enticements and threats, but Liam snapped at her, "Be silent." Her blandishments and menaces failed to sway him. People presumed she had been the cause of his obtaining the pass for the space gate, so opposition to her ceased, and he agreed to hear her request. Liam asked Maji how much of the treasure would suffice to purchase a number of ships. She replied that after deducting mission expenses, they could buy about 5,000 ships. He and everyone present were stunned and immediately set about preparing an order to buy 5,000 vessels. He tried to arrest the decision before this madness became reality. At the same time, Yasushi was walking the corridors devising a new trick to swindle money from Liam, and by chance he spotted Nias passing by, speaking on the phone. He heard her say, "I placed a huge order after exhausting myself completely, as I always do." Yasushi felt that Lian was exploiting her as if she were a plaything in his hands. Indignation flared within him. This pleased the mentor, who waited for him to drown in negative emotions. Meanwhile, Liam was still searching for Nias when Yasushi stopped him. "Come with me." He took Liam to the training yard, blindfolded him, and strapped weights to his body, throwing him into an impossible training regimen. This time, Yasushi sent dozens of automatic drones that launched tennis balls at Liam from every direction at a speed greater than ever before. Liam could not fend them all off. He took consecutive blows to the head. Yasushi increased the intensity of the attack until Liam collapsed, sitting on the ground saying, "I cannot parry every strike with a single sword." Yasushi replied coldly, "Stop making excuses. You are the only one who must find the solution." At that moment, an idea was born in Liam's mind. Why not use magic as I did before, but this time as a defense rather than an attack? He began attempting to summon barrier magic, and indeed he succeeded instantly. All the balls bounced away from him, repelled by the shield. Yasushi stood frozen in disbelief at what he was witnessing. Then, the barrier redirected the balls back toward the drones, destroying them all in a single strike. Afterward, Liam lifted the cover from his eyes and turned toward him saying, "Is this enough, Yasushi?" Confusion spread across Yasushi's face as he whispered to himself, "This boy is a genius. Soon he will expose me. He is capable of revealing corrupt officers and even toppling the greatest legends of the pirates. If he learns the truth, he will crush me completely." Sensing danger, he decided to flee before Liam understood everything, and he began to move. Liam asked, "Where are you going?" He replied, "I have taught you everything I know, and I have nothing more to give. From here on, you must train in your own way. The path of the sword has no end," my boy Liam shouted. "But I do not want that. I still need your training." Yasushi snapped at him angrily. "Stop being spoiled. I too am still learning, and I have a long road ahead. Your clinging to me will only hold me back." Then he turned his face away and said with solemnity, "I hereby declare that you have graduated. From this moment, you are a master of the path of the sword. It is now your responsibility to spread the style of Flash throughout the entire galaxy." Liam replied joyfully, "Very well. I will do so." As soon as he turned around, Yasushi bolted away at full speed. As for Lian, he had never felt such contentment in either of his lives. His debts were beginning to shrink. His lands were expanding. He had defeated a portion of the pirates, and his teacher had finally acknowledged him. Suddenly, he burst forth from the other world, before he could dissolve under the overwhelming surge of positive energy rising within him. And thus, our story for today comes to an end. So do not forget to like the video, share it, and leave a comment, for this is what encourages us to continue. And if you are new to our channel, be sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you soon, legends.